bedside. He had listened to her breathing, checked her pulse, and conferred in a hushed voice with the nurse, then had gone to break the news to grandfather that his daughter would probably not live through the night. Robert had been sent for and was due today. At some point, Madeleine presumed, they would all come up to stand over the impending corpse. But for now, she had Maman to herself. Even the brisk day nurse had gone downstairs to eat, and Madeleine sat alone in fragile stillness, listening to her mother's shallow breathing, stroking the crumpled skin on her thin, tired hands. The covers on Elise's bed were stretched so tight they appeared to constrict her uneven breathing even further. Leaning over the high bed, Madeleine loosened them, disturbing the marble finish of the sheets and wondering what reaction she might get from nurse. Maman lay quiet on the heavy pillows, her still beautiful golden hair framing ashen, sunken cheeks. Only 42 years old, and until last year the most beautiful English rose, in spite of her faded clothes and worn expression. She had been a broken rose for many years, Madeleine thought as she watched her, and now no petals remained. She had done nothing to fight her illness, although it was hard to believe anything could have been done for her. Cancer was a word of dread and foreboding, and Elise had relieved the family of many months of fear by hiding the illness and her weight loss, appearing merely to be losing her youth as she had long since lost her hope. The nurse came quietly into the room, checked swiftly on Elise, and nodded at her sleeping form. She turned to Madeleine. "I've had my lunch, Miss Madeleine, and now I'll sit with your mother. You go down to lunch now. Mrs. Hopkins tells me your grandparents are already in the dining room. Go down now, and then maybe your mother will wake when you return." No, thank you. I'm not hungry," Madeleine said, with a quick shake of her head. "She may wake any moment, and I want to be here." It may be the last time, she wanted to say. The nurse pursed her lips. "As you say, miss." She moved over to the window table, which now served as a desk and dispensary, and placed a new vial next to the syringe. The low-lying spring sun shone in watery shafts through the new leaves on the trees outside, and picked out the metal dish which held the syringe and the plain glass jug of water on the table. Not a mote of dust floated in the sunlight. "They've sent for your brother to come home from Oxford," offered the nurse. "I think the driver went for him, so he should be here quite soon." Madeleine acknowledged with a brief smile, but her throat constricted at the thought of Robert seeing their mother at the end. He was a surprisingly fragile creature, despite his youthful muscle and careful poise. He was at once commanding and childlike, and his last visit home had tested his hard-imposed self-control, flaying open old wounds which he had long ago sealed over with a studied British reserve. Madeleine had seen in his eyes the beginnings of fear, and the hands which held his mother's had trembled. Maman had come unusually awake for Robert, reaching out to touch him, each movement of her eyes a caress. Robert, who was the copy of his father, the closest living image of the dark, broad, handsome Spaniard who had defined Elise's existence. Only Robert's skin was fairer, and his hair a rich brown in place of his father's black mane, but still his colouring was not fully British, and irked their grandfather. Madeleine shared this smooth Mediterranean skin which would not freckle and turned olive in the sun, with the same almond eyes, full lips, and mass of dark hair. But her face was longer, slimmer.